Again, my name is Marty Thompson. I'm from T3 Performance. We are a sports performance training facility. We're in Avon, probably only about five miles away. But just wanted to come in today and kind of talk to you guys a little bit about my experience in the field, a little bit about what we do at T3, and I guess kind of some words of wisdom, just having been in the field for about 14 years. So I got my undergraduate degree in exercise science from Bowling Green State University. From there I went on to get my master's degree from Cleveland State University. Had quite a few different jobs within the field. That is kind of the one nice thing about I guess the exercise science degree. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. So a couple of my positions throughout the years, I worked at a therapy center called Cleveland Therapy Center, rehabbing patients. I worked for a company called Velocity Sports Performance, and actually a national franchise. Again, very similar to what actually we do right now, but they train a lot of athletes, professional down to youth kids. I did corporate wellness at Well. If any of you guys are kind of looking to go that route, I was involved in corporate wellness for 3 years, and that kind of led me to my current position. I'm a director of performance at T3 Performance, and that's just a couple of shots of our facility. We have about 20,000 square feet. So, kind of couple different angles there.
You said this was in Avon?
Yeah, we're located in Avon. We are in, if you're familiar with the area, we're actually in the All-Pro Freight building. So this is some of the things that we do over there. We train adults. We have adult boot camps, and we do one-on-one adult personal training. We have kind of a baseball side of our company. We have, this year I think we're going to have 18 travel softball and baseball teams. So the players on these teams, if anyone played travel sports growing up, from basically the teams that we have, they are ages 8 to 18. These teams actually practice and work with our baseball staff, and then they also get performance training. So kind of encompasses everything. So these are obviously younger kids are, obviously it's not as serious. The older kids that we have are some of the best players in the state and the country, a lot of Division I scholarships, so they take it very seriously. So we basically, try to get them that scholarship, take them to that next level. We have a youth training program, which is ages 7 to 11. I know, as you saw a picture of all the weights, and you're thinking 7-year-olds, so they don't go into the weight room. 7 to 11-year-olds are basically, we're teaching them how to warm up properly, a lot of body control, coordination, a lot of agility work, and introducing them to some of the basics that we do with our older athletes, which is very, very, very important. I always kind of compare it to the analogy here, a younger kid, their brain is kind of like a sponge. On the physical side of that, the athletes that, the youth kids that exercise, that are involved in some sort of sport or the training are going to develop, it's going to help them once they do get into high school. So we're teaching them basically good habits while they're young, while they're developing sound motor patterns, learning how to control their body. They develop those at a young age. When they're in high school, they're going to be moving a lot better, as opposed to, and we see this all the time, is high school athletes that have already developed a lot of poor movement habits, and then it's basically trying to break them down and build them back up. We have the Woodway high-speed treadmill, which is actually the picture you see right there. I couldn't get the video to play. But if you're familiar with the normal treadmill, this is unlike any normal treadmill. It goes up to 35-degree incline and 25 miles per hour, and it's actually, you can see, it's kind of harnessed in there, so forces you to run harder than you've ever had in your life. Team training, so we work with a lot of high school teams in the area, and then kind of our bread and butter is athlete performance training. So majority of the training that we do is middle school kids, 12 years old, and up to the professional level. And I'm going to kind of break down the training, give you some nuts and bolts of what we do. So when our athletes come in, they are in our facility for 90 minutes. That 90 minutes is broken down into basically 4 different areas. It's a 15-minute active dynamic warm-up. They do 20 minutes of technical speed work. They move into the weight room for 50 minutes, very functional stuff, strength and power, and then we're usually ending with about 5 minutes of conditioning, energy system development. I'm gonna, again, just kind of break down how we do everything. The warm-up, easily the most important part of what we do, and I'll say that for a number of reasons. Number one is if you don't warm up, you're not going to get nearly as much out of the rest of the training session from a actual performance standpoint and from just staying healthy. What the warm-up consists of, a lot of neuromuscular and muscular activation. So most of the athletes that we're seeing, they've been in school, kind of like you guys, you've been sitting on your butt all day long. So basically, most of their body's almost shut off. So we do a lot of activation exercises to get those, get the muscles to wake them up, to get the neuromuscular system primed, so they're ready to move fast, to move explosively, and basically to improve their performance. A lot of upper, lower, and trunk mobility exercises, prehab exercises. So within our warm-up, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the term prehab. Okay, so instead of waiting until you get injured to do all these exercises that are very beneficial, they're incorporated into our workout every single day. So, for instance, shoulder injuries are very common in any sport, but specifically overhead sports, swimming, baseball, softball. So they're part of the workout every single day. That way, our athletes are basically preventing injuries down the road. A lot of body weight strength exercises. So for lower level athletes or people that are just starting out, there's definitely a strength benefit from just going through the warm-up. And then a lot of dynamic movement preparation. So from the warm-up, we move right into some speed work. So we'll do some transitional movements. For example, if we're doing linear speed on one day, if we're doing sprint work, then we're going to precede that with forward skips, with backward skip stuff. We're moving in the same type of plane. All right, kind of moving into the speed part. So we basically every day our athletes come in. We don't just run them through cones. Okay, it's a lot of technique work. Instead of just having them run through cones, we really break everything down step by step, stride by stride. And the reason we do it this way, I compare it to imagine kind of going into school and you walk into a classroom and it's like, all right, today we're going to learn math, we're going to learn Spanish, we're going to do a little bit of history. It's too much for the brain to kind of comprehend and to actually get better at it. So we break everything down this way. Some days are acceleration work. We do multi-directional days, which encompass basically those five types of movements, and then we do top-end speed work. So linear acceleration. If everyone can kind of think of running a 40-yard dash, the acceleration phase of that is anywhere from 15 to, say, 35, 40 yards, and some athletes are actually still accelerating once they hit 40 yards. Which acceleration, very, very important no matter what sport you're playing. Basically, the ability to get from point A to point B as fast as you can, that first step quickness and explosiveness. So there is a right way for the body to accelerate. So I'm going to kind of go through the mechanics here if you guys haven't learned this already. So the best way for the human body to accelerate, you have to have a 45-degree forward lean. So if you look at, I'm pretty sure this is Usain Bolt, 45-degree lean. He has a power line, and basically what that means is his head, his shoulders, his hips, his knee, through his back ankle is one straight line. So if you're ever to kind of watch somebody sprinting, anything away from that angle is going to slow you down. So all that force you produce into the ground, say it's 200 pounds of force. If you don't have that strong power line, it's wasted energy up in the air. So someone like this, very, very efficient with all the work that he puts into moving forward, will actually help him go forward. Knee drive. His front shin's basically parallel to his back shin, and this creates a positive shin angle. So you want to run forward. A lot of sprinters or a lot of young athletes, as they're trying to work on their mechanics, instead of having a parallel shin angle, they come up and they butt kick and they drive straight down to the ground. If I drive straight down, I'm going to go up. I want to go forward. So you have to get that parallel shin angle and drive back. That's why I emphasize that. So again, we work a lot. We work with our athletes on basically as getting as many good reps in with these things as we can. Ankle position, dorsiflexion, so toes pulled up to the shins. This will allows the athlete to land on the balls of the feet and limit ground contact time. So when we work with our athletes on developing acceleration, it's, again, we break it down stride by stride. So we don't have someone just run 10 yards and come back, all right, now I want you to go 100% and fix all these things. So we do a series of drills. I'll give you an example. We'll have our athletes lean up against the wall, and they're basically working one stride at a time, trying to fix their body position, trying to fix their knee drive, and trying to fix their ankle position. And from there, they correct it, and then we try to duplicate that over and over when we're off the wall with a band or without a band for resistance. And I'll kind of breeze through multi-directional stuff. So again, multi-directional, we work on back pedal. There's a right way to back pedal. We work on cutting drills, lateral movement, a crossover run, which is, if you could think of like a middle linebacker basically trying to run down the line. His body's square, but he's moving laterally. It's a little bit quicker than an actual shuffle. And then a lot of deceleration work. Some common teaching points among these are going to be body position. So if I want to cut, if I want to shuffle, if I want to back pedal, I need to make sure I have a lower center of gravity. I always have good posture, and I want to be efficient and control my body as much as I can. So if you kind of imagine like a little kid who's running and he's trying to stop and his body keeps going, it's a lot of wasted energy. And where a good athlete is going to have a low center of gravity, he's going to be able to plant and push off and be efficient. So with the way we teach everything, we're very, very, very detailed. Any feedback we can give on our athletes actually correcting the way they move is, and I kind of say this on that's what separates us from, in my opinion, from a lot of other places. Or just to be a good trainer, what would separate a good trainer from, I say, someone who's just average, is that specific feedback. That's really why people are coming to see us. If you're training people, if they're coming to see you, they want to get better at what they're doing. So that specific feedback is very, very important. And then kind of foot contact is another area as far as multi-directional movement is concerned, what we focus on. Top speed. Is anyone familiar with top end speed training? All right, so I talked about the 40-yard dash earlier. Let's take that out to 100 yards. So you have a 100-yard sprint, okay? And as everyone I'm sure has watched the Olympics, seen a 100-meter sprint. Towards the end of the race, say 80, 90 yards in, you have about 3 or 4 guys kind of break away from the pack. What happens there? They maintain their top speed. Guaranteed 90, 80 yards in, no one's speeding up. They've already reached their top speed. So we work on top speed mechanics for a couple of reasons, and I'll relate it to the 100-meter sprint. So if you have 3 or 4 guys that are kind of break away from the pack, those guys maintain their top speed, everybody else slows down. Now, at an elite level, you're talking, someone goes from 27 to 26.5 miles an hour. They slow down a little bit, but that's enough for those couple guys to kind of break away from the pack. So improving your top speed mechanics is going to help you maintain your top speed, and it's also going to increase your top speed. And it's going to help you become very, very efficient. So, we spend a lot of time in the weight room getting strong, getting powerful, which translates right over to speed work. If your mechanics are poor, it doesn't matter how strong, how powerful you are. You're not going to be able to tap into that true strength and power. So what ends up you become a very efficient athlete when your mechanics are sound. As opposed to acceleration work, the body's leaning at 45. Top speed work, you want your body to remain upright. Ankle position. So I talked about dorsiflexion earlier. Does everyone know what that means? Okay, toes, it means you run with your toes up so you can land on what part of your foot? Does anyone know? Balls of your feet, okay. I'm going to throw another kind of piece of information in here of why this is important. So when you dorsiflex, or if you don't dorsiflex, what's the opposite of dorsiflexion? Plantar flexion, okay. So when you plantar flex your ankle, what muscle group is working to do that? Calf, so muscles of your calf, okay. Now, when you're at your top speed, you have good dorsiflexion. The first part of the movement, you basically butt kick. So my knee is basically flexing there. What muscle groups are used to flex the knee? Hamstring, what else? Nope. Just think of the knee action. Someone actually said it earlier. Calf. So part of your calf muscle. Gastrocnemius is muscle in your calf that is going to act on the ankle joint and on the knee joint. Okay. So if I am plantar flexed when I run, my gastroc is activated. So when I bend my knee in plantar flexion, if my gastroc is acting on my ankle, it cannot act on the knee. So it overloads the hamstring. Now your hamstring's doing all this work. A lot of hamstring pulls. So if you ever see someone who's constantly pulling their hamstring when they're running, it's not necessarily flexibility issue. It's not necessarily a weakness issue. Fix your ankle position. You're gonna, I would say, fix the problem for the most part. So, all right, moving on to kind of the phases that we work on. So, recovery position is basically when you're at your top speed, your legs kind of move like in a cyclical motion, a bicycle type motion. So you butt kick, you step over, and then you pull back. So we break that down into two phases. Recovery is going from here until your leg stops moving in a positive direction, and then ground preparation is that pullback action. What's one thing, if you guys kind of remember if you were running when you were younger, what's one piece of advice, say, the average person give you? You want to run faster, you have to do what? Run barefoot. It's not what I was looking for. Good answer, though.
Put your head down or something.
I've heard that one, too. Has anyone ever heard, say, lengthen your stride out? Okay. Well, if you're accelerating, you want to lean forward. What a lot of people say is, lengthen your stride out. It's actually not always the case. Some cases, yes, people need to lengthen their stride out. A lot of times that's not true. So if you lengthen your stride out, you basically sometimes end up floating in there just like a deer. Okay. When the moments you can get faster, when you can get faster is by producing force into the ground and doing it at a faster rate. Okay. Now you want optimal force. I don't want to pick my leg up here because I get no force production. I pick it up here, I get good force production. I overextend. Now it's just taking me longer until my foot hits the ground until I can actually force. So that's, at least maybe I ran horrible when I was younger, but I always heard that people saying that lengthen your stride out, and I hear a lot of parents say that they're telling their kids to do it now is lengthen your stride out. I have to kind of put the brakes on, like, no, not yet. That's not always the case. Let's keep the teaching to us, I guess. So after our athletes go finish the speed work, they go into the weight room, and so all of our athletes, when they get set up in our program, we lay out a 12-week plan for them. And we basically put them into a level depending on their sport, whether they're in season, off season, and basically just how athletic they are. So we have upwards of 6 different levels of our workouts, sports specific for our older athletes. The reason I say that is probably one of the biggest things I hear is again, I deal with a lot of parents, is what do you do specifically for this sport? There is more in common with all the sports than there is differences. A fast football player looks like a fast track guy, a fast baseball player. So, and this can actually be a really big mistake. If I have an athlete who has not learned fundamental movements, so if they haven't learned how to squat, how to push, how to pull, how to lunge, and I start teaching them very skilled stuff, so that, swinging the baseball bat is a little kid knows how to do it, but to give him a band and have him rotate and think he's going to hit the ball better, probably not very much. But if I can teach him how to squat, how to shift his weight, how to do real simple things first, he's going to end up hitting a lot better than trying to giving him something complicated and think he's going to master that without foundational movements first. So our athletes, they come in 1 to 4 days per week. What we do in the weight room with them, especially with our older kids, the big lift that they're going to do at the beginning of the program is some sort of Olympic lift. clean snatch or a jerk progression. Has anyone done these before? Yes? Okay. It's very complex. Okay, it's an actual sport. Okay, people in the Olympics practice years and years and years and years to actually get this right. So we take our athletes through these exercises, but very, very, there's a lot of different progressions. We don't just give them a bar and say clean, snatch it. They got to know how to jump. They got to know how to land. From there, we work to basically some sort of hang shrug and progress them forward that way. And probably just probably one area just in general where younger athletes, high school, where a lot of kids are getting hurt, a lot of mistakes are being made. And the main reason that is just the amount of weight. I will tell you that the longer I do this, the amount of weight that you use that is on the bar that's probably like fourth thing on our list. I don't care how much weight the kids have. They have to move right first. Their form has to be sound, and especially for an Olympic lift, the main goal is to train the neuromuscular system, to teach them to be fast and explosive. So if I have 200 pounds on the bar and I'm moving it slow, I'm going to get hurt, and I'm probably actually not going to benefit from it. Okay, moving on from the Olympic lifting, some other things we do in the weight room, a lot of jumps and plyometrics, double leg squat, so your traditional front squat, back squat, a lot of single leg work, which if I could teach you guys something way more important than any type of double leg squat. I see a lot of kids, a lot of athletes who they can squat 500 pounds, 400 pounds, but they can't split squat or lunge 80 pounds. Huge, it's a big deficiency there. No matter what sport you're playing, you're going to be on one leg more than you are on two legs. Very rarely are you just pushing off two legs. You're running or cutting, you need your body to be balanced and to be strong. Same thing with posterior chain work, a lot of double leg and single leg stuff, talking about training the glutes, the hamstrings, lower back, and then functional upper body stuff, vertical pushes, pulls, horizontal pushes and pulls. If you've never seen kind of exercises categorized like this is a great way to figure out, or to basically design workouts. So if any of our athletes, if I look at the full 12-week plan, they're going to get an equal number of pushes as pulls, equal number of squats as posterior chain work, and then core work. A lot of stability and rotational stuff. That translates right onto the field. So a crunch, a sit-up, and it doesn't really do much. Very rarely in sports you actually moving through the sagittal plane, bending your body in half. Okay, you got to be able to stabilize first and foremost. Once you can stabilize, then you can rotate and move. So very, very important. Just a couple of things, I guess words of advice as things I've learned over my career. I'd say read as many books as you can, websites, whatever, and find good ones. There's a lot of bad ones. There's a lot of good ones. I just threw a couple on there. Gray Cook, he's a certified strength coach, physical therapist. He's actually the one that designed the functional movement screen. His first book is called Athletic Body and Balance. is awesome. If you're interested in training athletes, that book will really teach you a lot about identifying movements, teaching athletes to move the right way. And I'm a big fan of Mike Boyle, if you guys know who he is, strength coach up in the Boston area. He has a really, really good approach with everything he does, and actually has a great website, his facility website, and then he has a strength coach blog, which is really good. I'm sure a lot of you guys are certified or are looking to get certified. That's very important. Once you kind of know what path you want to go down to, obviously there's a lot of certifications out there, so maybe get the basic one, and then if there's more specific ones, don't hesitate, get them done as soon as you can. Live by your philosophy. So, for example, I train athletes. I try to train like an athlete as well. Okay, I would never train athletes and then do Zumba on the side. That doesn't make any sense. So you got to be able to kind of exactly. You got to be able to kind of walk the walk. Plus, you can learn a lot. When you're actually going through stuff yourself, you can pick up on a lot of things. And you know when you're pushing your athletes and you've been there, then you know what they're feeling. You know what their mind's thinking as they're trying to make corrections and get better. Coach, and what I mean by that is if most of the coaches I've been around, if they want to train athletes, the good ones have coached at some level, meaning whether it's a youth basketball team, some sort of coaching kids, high school. The teaching part of it is really that's the tough part. So the knowledge part, learn as much as you can, absolutely, but the application of it, that's huge. Being able to talk to a kid, being able to teach him how to do something right, and if he's not doing it right, knowing how to correct him and how to talk to him. And with the athletes that we deal with, it's some are tough, some are weak, some are they don't want to be there. So it's a lot of different personalities that you have to deal with. So if you can put yourself in a situation where you're dealing with athletes of different levels, different personalities, it can definitely benefit you. And then experience and learn from as many as you can. I've been very fortunate to learn from a lot of different people, a lot of good strength coaches around the country. Worked at a lot of different facilities, and so that list of things I kind of showed you from my bio at the beginning, even if it was corporate wellness or doing therapy stuff, I've definitely pulled something from each of those positions that's enabled me to kind of put it together at T3, I guess.
Do you promote using strap-on weights and weight vests and stuff like that?
You said promote using weight vests? Weight vests, you mean?
Yeah, weight vests. I really want to know what does it exactly do for it? I'll be using one when I be jogging.
I mean, it depends on your goals, I would say. For our athletes, we use weight vests for a lot of body weight exercises, so push-ups, chin-ups, pull-ups. We have slide boards, which we basically will have them use some vests. A lot of our football players preseason, and we'll give them some vests just for the warm-up, basically just for a conditioning effect. If you're jogging, that's one thing. So if you're looking to get faster, you definitely don't want to wear a weight vest. It's just going to slow you down. Good.
That doesn't make you faster, when you take the vest off? Because when I take it off, I be feeling light. I can jump higher, everything.
It's kind of it's almost like it kind of tricks your body a little bit. I mean, if fast is, are you talking about a sprint, or are you talking about 2 or 3 miles? Is a big it's a big difference. Yeah. I mean, ideally, if you're running with a vest, or you're running without a vest, you're going to move slower with the vest. So it may get your heart in shape. As far as increasing the speed at which you move.
Does it really build your muscles up like it? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm really trying to get at. Does it really?
What are your goals?
I just want to my goal is just to stay strong and fit, but burn off fat. That's why I be jogging with it too. I figure that I might be burning off fat and building my muscle at the same time. If I weigh 200 and I got a 30-pound weight vest on, now I'm running with 230. I'm not running.
Gotcha.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When I take the vest off, now I feel lighter. That's what I'm saying. Is it really doing something for me? Is it just?
I would say. I mean,
think it's doing something for me.
There's probably some application to it. I would say. I would. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the best way.
I'm jogging for 3-4 miles. I don't just jog around.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to work harder, so you're going to expend more energy. Yes. Now, if you're trying to improve your time in 3 or 4 miles, I would say don't use it. If you're truly, so if you want to get better at running 3 miles, run as fast as you can. Run the mile and a half fast as you can. So break down increments there. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to work harder, but you're actually not moving your legs any faster. It does. The weight vest is good. Just you got to kind of use it the right places. Any other?
One more question. Is your facility strictly for training athletes, or would somebody who just wants to get into shape go to you also? Because you said you have personal trainers.
Yeah, we have. I think we have about 6 to 8 trainers on staff. All of them are involved in the athlete training. They work with athletes, whether it's youth up to some of our teams, to college, high school, professional. And I say each one of our trainers then. So obviously, if we're working with high school kids, they come to us in the afternoon. So in the morning, a lot of our trainers are basically doing one-on-one adult training. We have boot camps. It's a very there's a lot of different things you can do at our facility. We have wide open turf. We've had 4 group classes going on at the same time. So there's a lot of different things you can do.
So if someone were looking just to get into shape, they could
Mm-hmm.
go there for that purpose.
Mm-hmm. Are you talking like for yourself to like work out or to?
Just like if someone wanted to just like work.
We don't have a lot of we don't have membership. We do like we have a boot camp schedule. Basically, there's a price you pay per month, and you can come to as many of them as you want.
For this 12-week functional strength and power, like how much does something like that run?
So we charge so for an athlete to come in 3 times a week within the month. They'll give you 12 sessions. It's $249 for the month. Twice a week is $199 for the month. So I'd say anywhere from $17 to $24 per session. So it's all small group training. I think that's one thing I forgot to put in there. So all the athletes are trained in small groups. So one coach, no more than 10 kids in a group, and they basically go through the warm up, the speed, to the weight room, to the conditioning as a group. So.
And another great thing, a lot of our interns have done their hours with Marty and
Yes.
his staff, so you could learn all the programs and then do it on your own. That's a wonderful benefit of doing either your observation and or internship hours
Mhm.
here. And he has hired many of our interns.
I think we have three on staff right now. So, and one thing we had a class actually come out last year
Yeah.
to go through a training session. So,
Maybe we'll do a field trip later on this semester. It's usually later on. We took the practicum kids last time, but
okay,
might as well get them in there first.
yeah, why not?